We'll see. All right, switch that guy over to the live chat. Bam. All right, hey everybody. Welcome to Houston with a Problem. So yesterday, FINRA filed a response to Roza's motion for reconsideration because basically Roza said, "Hey, Judge, you done fucked up. You ruled on something that actually has precedent that's the opposite. I need you to look at this again with this information and see that you screwed up, and you should reconsider and look at possibly issuing this injunction again." FINRA filed a response. We're going to read those today. And the response basically says, you can't do anything to us. We're more powerful than God. They also filed a motion to dismiss. So they are asking the judge to dismiss everything. Just throw the whole thing out. Because, again, FINRA's claims are more powerful than God. So we're going to read through those, and I don't know how long it's going to take. It's like 30 pages worth of stuff, so it might take a little while to get through it all. But, you know, such is life, right? Monkey, why are you whining? What? You're doing your little breathy whine thing. It's weird. It's weird. Do you want a blanket? Will that help? All right, whatever. Okay. Shaboom. And off. There we go. Okay. So, if you're throwing questions at me, I'm not going to be able to answer them right now, just so you know. You guys can have your little chats there. But we're going to read through the filings, which I got all queued up for once. So this is the, which one is this? This is motion opposition. So it's 15 pages or so. Okay. If you remember, in Roza's filing, she points out a few things. One, they had claimed that she didn't prove any harm. So Roza went, hey, you promised me 1 for 1. I can't get 1 for 1 because of all these naked shares and unclosed shorts that exist. And you not forcing the closure in your corporate action of these shares and then allowing them to go through the settlement period and potentially be offered this 1 for 1 NextBridge shares, that harm me. Plus, I can also be harmed because the company may dilute their stock and I didn't have the opportunity to get out before they did it. And then we saw the filing this week on Monday of for 40 million more shares to be issued. So the dilution is happening. So she pointed out those two things and then pointed out that FINRA didn't care about settlement when the original MMATA shares were issued, the original preferred shares in 2021. They let it trade for 5 more days after the date of record, and they did not care then about settlement. So why all of a sudden do they care about settlement now? So those are kind of the key points. And she showed not only is there proof that there's synthetics and counterfeits out there and short shares, she did so via their own website. And then she took a legal case from their own website showing that they not only can be sued, but they can be forced to reveal the accounting on if there are short shares or not. So she was very smart in that the data she used was from FINRA's own website. Okay. All right. So right off the bat, we got plaintiff's motion for reconsideration. The FINRA's opposition to plaintiff's motion for reconsideration. Basically, FINRA says, no, you can't do that. So here they talk about how if you're going to do a motion for reconsideration is an extraordinary relief that does not operate to provide a party with a second bite at the apple. So basically said on January 9th, 2023, the court properly denied plaintiff's motion. So they're saying when the court said, no, you can't get an injunctive relief or TRO because FINRA is immune. The FINRA lawyer, of course, saying like, yes, they are. We are. You can't do anything to us. We are special little boys. And it said, based on the plaintiff failed to meet the requirements of obtaining preliminary injunctive relief, and that she failed to address FINRA's possible immunity. She did address FINRA's possible immunity. She stated specifically she was seeking injunctive relief and not monetary damages because FINRA is immune from monetary damages, but not injunctive relief. That is settled case law. Rule 59 may be used only on two grounds. One, newly discovered evidence, or two, manifest errors of law or fact. They address one in this, but they don't address two, which she pointed out several times. While plaintiff claims to offer newly discovered evidence in support of the motion, none of that purported evidence provides any basis for this court to reconsider its decision. I mean, that's a bold statement for not actually addressing anything. Plaintiff also spends the majority of motion disputing the legal arguments FINRA made in the opposition to plaintiff's motion for a temporary restraining order. Absent an allegation on the January 9th order contains manifest errors of law or fact, the motion amounts to a request that the court revisit its decision. An impermissible use of Rule 59, plaintiff's motion for reconsideration must be denied. Okay, here's the thing. Absent allegation that the order contains manifest errors of law or fact. That is in her motion. She showed that the FINRA lawyers misrepresented court precedent saying they couldn't be sued, when in fact in the case they had been successfully sued and forced by the court to do an injunctive relief. They also misrepresented the two laws at play here, which is the Sherman Act and the what's the other one? We'll get to it. Anyway, so she shows that there was errors. Those the central thesis to her entire motion is that there were errors of fact and law. So them just saying she didn't show that at all is them not doing their job. They're doing a little double speak here. They're going to try and gaslight the judge and tell the judge that he isn't seeing what he's seeing. It's kind of a little lawyer trick. Okay. Moreover, the reason stated in the FINRA motion to dismiss plaintiff's claims are barred by immunity as matter of law. No, they're not. Because in her motion, she cites specific examples where FINRA does not have immunity. So now they're trying to claim immunity to everything, even though in their original filing, it was only immunity to monetary damages. Okay. Argument, reconsideration pursuant to Rule 59 is extraordinary remedy within the sound discretion of the court. Basically, if the court has the discretion to go, you know what, we messed up. We're going to look at it again and redo this thing. Just saying that they're complaining that the motion seeks to amend the January 9th order, but that's the entire reason why she did it. The motion, however, fails to provide basis for requested relief. Does it, though? I mean, she literally provides the basis for requested relief for the motion, saying, I've been injured, others have been injured, and we will continue to be injured until this is rectified. That's the basis for requested relief, right? That we're keeping injured, and the law that FINRA cited that they can't be sued and forced to obey an injunctive relief is erroneous. Like, does not apply to them in this situation. So, more doublespeak. All right. A, absolute immunity precludes reconsideration. The court's January 9th order properly denied the emergency motions because plaintiff failed to satisfy her burden, demonstrating that such relief was appropriate in this case. She showed it. The court never acknowledged it. That's a difference. She talked about there being short shares in existence on this private company. Therefore, she could not be guaranteed her one-to-one offering of the NextBridge shares. So that is the entire point that they have never addressed. They have not addressed short sales on the MMTLP stock, and they won't address them in this filing either. Okay. In her complaint, plaintiff summarily concludes, without furnishing any factual support, not true, that when FINRA halted trading on the Series A shares, it prevented the reconciliation of short positions held by market makers and brokers at the expense of shareholders. She used the data from their own website that showed short shares existed. Not just any short shares existed, that like 29% of the float was at least shorted. From their own website. Their own website says, hey, Betty, we haven't closed any of these things yet. So when they state, without furnishing any factual support, she literally puts the website where you can find it from FINRA's own documentation. All right. So FINRA lying through their teeth right here. Okay. FINRA's decision to halt trading and quoting on Series A shares was a quintessential regulatory function. So they claim. But Roza showed the last time they should have done that, they didn't do it. When Metamaterial and Torchlight merged, the date of record, glonk, was one date in June, and then they continued to trade the Torchlight shares for 5 more days, screwing up any possibility of having, sound settlement procedures for this untradeable Series A preferred share. So FINRA right here saying that it was a quintessential regulatory function. If it was so quintessential to the regulatory function, why didn't they ever do it before with any stock that is having, date of record happen? Right? If it's so quintessential, then why have they never done this before? Quintessential assumes that this is like a normal thing. Like this is what we do, man. Like if you got some sort of data record coming up, we gotta stop trading you because how we settle. I don't know. It's not how we do that. I don't know the way you've done it every single solitary time you've ever had a date of settlement and continued trading afterwards. Maybe. I don't know. Like that's kind of how it works. Okay. There are a few functions more quintessentially regulatory than suspension of trading. Okay, the suspension of trading that they're citing here, Merrill Lynch and Pierce Fenner versus Manning, they're talking about like circuit breakers, right? Talking about corporate fraud, other forms of fraud, Ponzi's, you name it, manipulation, pump and dumps. That is different than taking a stock that's trading normally and going, you can't trade anymore. They actually have regulatory function on those things because there's legal malfeasance happening. There was no legal malfeasance happening in trying to close the MMTLP shares before the company went private. That's how you're supposed to do it. That's what's supposed to happen. The brokers had already said that they were going to go to position close only and force closure of these short positions, meaning no new positions would be created. Therefore, it would not affect settlement when it came to the distribution of these NextBridge shares. So FINRA they're doing lots of legal doublespeak here, using things that don't necessarily apply to this situation and pretending like it's totally normal. It's not. You've done a U3 halt on domestic stocks 3 times in your history. That doesn't seem normal. Of the 2 other times, one was because 2 insiders of the company were suing each other. And FINRA's like, we're going to stop trading until you guys resolve this. The other time was a company that was going to do a 100-to-1 reverse split and then immediately do a 10-to-1 forward split. And FINRA's like, why don't you just do one 10-to-1 reverse split? Why are you doing all this other crap, right? So those are the other instances where they've done halts like this on U.S. stocks. The other times on other stocks are like crazy Chinese companies owned by warlords and drug dealers, Ponzi schemes. Those are just like straight up criminal fraud cases. So Here, they're stating like, oh, it's totally normal when there's extraordinary circumstances like we claim for there to be, a halt. No, that's not true at all. That's not how it works. You guys know it. You're lying through your teeth right now. Okay, because the trading halt was in furtherance of FINRA's statutory delegated authority to regulate the securities markets, absolute immunity bars plaintiff's claims. But in the plaintiff's claims, she showed that every time you've made a decision like this, it's benefited the hedge funds and hurt the retail investors. Not only that, she showed that in arbitration, you put your thumb on the scale to the benefit of Wells Fargo, to the detriment of whoever Wells Fargo was up against in arbitration. So you have a history of A, lying, and B, not doing your job properly and using your powers for evil, basically. So the FINRA dudes are playing fast and loose with the truth here. All right, assuming this court grants FINRA's motion to dismiss, the court need not analyze whether the plaintiff established basis of this court to reconsider the January 9th. So like, you can just dismiss this whole thing and you don't have to worry about any of these legal arguments. Further, because absolute immunity bars plaintiff's claims, they don't have absolute immunity. They have immunity to monetary damages. That's first and foremost. Their claimed absolute immunity does not exist. They do not have absolute immunity. A plaintiff cannot establish a likelihood of success in the merits support request for preliminary injunctive relief. She already pointed out that you guys have had cases where they've ruled injunctive relief against you. So she's right and you're wrong. Without showing a likelihood of success in the merits, a party is not entitled to a preliminary injunction, and the court need not consider the preliminary injunction factors. Okay, but she did have merits. So you guys, there's one thing that really pisses me off about this filing, is that Roza laid out the argument in very succinct ways, described what was happening in a way that a child should be able to understand it. And here, they're just gaslighting the judge, saying she never showed any of this stuff. No, she did. Repeatedly. Again and again. She has 240 pages of it, right? That she's shown over and 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 over, right? Okay. So they're doing a lot of doublespeak and a lot of gaslighting of the judge, basically saying, you didn't see what you thought you saw. You saw nothing at all. And they're trying to Jedi mind trick him. There's no basis for consideration of Rule 59. Only two grounds support Rule 59, motion for reconsideration, newly discovered evidence, which she showed, or manifest errors of law or fact, which she also showed. While a motion purports to present newly discovered evidence, none of the cited evidence would necessitate a modification to the January 9th order. Except they said she couldn't prove she was harmed, and then she provided evidence that showed she was harmed. She did exactly what FINRA asked her to do. Your Honor, she didn't show unequivocally that she was harmed, and she says, no, I was harmed. This is how I was harmed. This is from your own website. And FINRA's now saying she didn't show any evidence. She did. She showed evidence. So quit gaslighting us. Okay. Further, because the motion does not assert involves manifest errors of law or fact, plaintiffs have to dispute the TRO opposition order as a proper request that the court re-examine unfavorable ruling. She did show that there was errors of law or fact, because FINRA cited laws that don't say what they claim they say, and FINRA cited court cases where FINRA was successfully sued, but said the opposite. So in this right here, they're gaslighting, and they're showing that she didn't do these things, even though she clearly laid out in her last filing all the legal precedent, all the times that FINRA's been wrong and sued and had injunctive relief imposed upon them. And so she's able to show, yes, there's new evidence, and yes, that there's errors in facts or law. So FINRA's gaslighting the judge again. Okay. Newly discovered evidence identified by plaintiff does not warrant reconsideration. Okay, so here, all right. The paragraph above, right, basically says that there's no newly discovered evidence. And then they like, well, there is newly discovered evidence, but it's not enough to like reconsider. So they gaslight the judge and say there is no newly discovered evidence, and then they make the argument that yes, there is newly discovered evidence. It just isn't that important, right? So they're gaslighting and then doubling down by minimizing the thing that they gaslighted about. This is truly, I mean, I get the feeling this entire thing was written by a different person than the first response, because it is written better, and it seems way more manipulative than the last one. Last one was just like, they can't do anything. We're all powerful. This one is like playing with language in a way to make you question reality, and it seems like a much more evil and smarter person may have written this. Okay. Plaintiff's motion claims that it uses newly discovered evidence to support the request for consideration. When seeking relief from judgment based on newly discovered evidence, the party seeking relief must show: 1. The evidence was newly discovered after the court ruling. The movement exercised due diligence to discovering new evidence. The new evidence is not merely cumulative or impeaching. And the new evidence is material. And 5. The new evidence is such that production of it earlier would likely have changed the outcome of the case. Okay. Again, remember, their entire premise was Roza didn't show she was harmed. So Roza provided evidence showing that she was harmed. So yes, if the basis for throwing out the injunctive order was that Roza didn't show she was harmed, and then she provides evidence that shows she was harmed, that would be cause to reconsider. So they're gaslighting again. There's our state the cases. Plaintiff maintains there are 3 facts that she discovered after filing a TRR motion: the deletion of MMTLP, which we'll get to that later, the failure to issue NextBridge shares pursuant to the one-to-one exchange, which has happened, the failure to FINRA's knowledge of outstanding short positions. As with plaintiff's complaint, this newly discovered evidence is vague, unsupported, and conclusionary. It's from your own website. The short positions is from the FINRA website, right? The failure to issue one-to-one is something that's happened since Roza filed her claim. Remember, she filed on the 14th, was her original injunctive relief, was on the date of issuance. Right? She filed sometime in the afternoon, and then at 4 p.m. in the afternoon, the issuing of the NextBridge shares went out. So, yes, this is new evidence since she filed, because we have not had conclusive settlement for the majority of folks who claim to own these shares. We're 50 days into this, and still most people have not gotten their shares. They've got these weird warrants and placeholders in their place, but they don't have the actual shares they were promised. So yes, that is new since she filed, because she filed hours before the issuance of those things. So here, they're gaslighting again. They're claiming that this doesn't constitute new evidence since she filed. This is literally new evidence since she filed. FINRA douchebag, right? Okay. The deletion of MMTLP. Here's an interesting thing that I just discovered, or I just was sent to me right before the show. If you go to the FINRA website, no D1 order deleting the MMTLP ticker has ever been issued by FINRA. They still haven't deleted the ticker yet. It still exists, according to FINRA. So now they haven't done their job. They've not done their regulatory job, which is to delete that ticker as their own corporate action, and as the S1 filing to SEC stated they were supposed to do on December 13th. They still haven't done it. 50 days later, it still exists, man. So, right? More importantly, none of the newly discovered evidence calls into question FINRA's absolute immunity, and thus it does not impact the outcome of the January 9th order. Okay. She does provide evidence and legal precedent that you don't have absolute immunity. You never had absolute immunity. You had immunity from monetary damages. That's it. People can't sue you for money. So you keep saying absolute immunity, but you don't have it. You're making an argument that does not exist. It'd be like saying, it's like the arguments those sovereign citizen dudes do, right? You get pulled over for not having a license plate and driver's license, and the cop's like, driver's license registration. Yeah, I am a sovereign citizen. I am my own country. Therefore, I have diplomatic immunity, and you cannot ask me these questions. I'm not going to answer anything. And the cop just pulls a gun on them and hauls their ass to prison. So they're claiming things that don't exist. All right. Order for this reason alone, the evidence plaintiff identifies as newly discovered does not provide a basis for this court to reconsider. It does. Because newly discovered evidence fails to meet one of the elements outlined in this one case, the court needs not reconsider on any other basis in order to deny the motion. If newly discovered evidence fails to meet any of the 5 elements needed for the evidence support reconsideration, a motion for the reconsideration should be denied. Again, they're totally gaslighting us. 2, plaintiff's motion is an improper attempt to re-argue the motion for temporary restraining order. Plaintiff's motion does not point to any manifest errors of law or fact. It does. You claiming that it doesn't does not mean that it doesn't. She pointed out that you cited court cases wrong, and that those court cases said the opposite of what you claimed. She cited other court cases that showed clearly you do not have immunity, therefore it shouldn't have been tossed in the first place. So you're gaslighting us. All right. Okay. Citation, quotation marks omitted. All right. What is going on here? I don't know what they're doing here. All right. Argument plaintiff advances to dispute FINRA's legal arguments would not require a different outcome. Even if the court were to reconsider the arguments plaintiff advances in the motion. So here they are saying that the plaintiff A didn't make any arguments. B, when she did make arguments, they weren't good enough. And C, if they were good enough, then they shouldn't consider them anyway. Those arguments don't provide a basis to reconsider. Further, only some arguments advanced in the motion warrant comment in the opposition. So like, it doesn't even like get to the scale where we can even bother commenting on this. Now remember, earlier they pointed out that she said these short positions weren't closed out. They like, this is what she claimed, and then they never addressed that point. They still have not addressed that point anywhere in here. Roza said, hey, you halting this meant these short positions weren't closed, and now I can't get my 1-for-1. Right? They haven't addressed that at all. They've never acknowledged that the short position still exists. They just went, silly child, making these claims. That's all they did. Absolute immunity applies to equitable claims. In its opposition, FINRA established that it is absolutely immune. It's not. From suit claims related to regulatory functions, such as imposing the trading halt on the Series A preferred shares. She showed that you put your finger on the scale and you caused more problems than you claim to be stopping. That was what she pointed out, that it was not a normal thing. It was an extremely one-time thing that's only ever happened to this one stock and nothing else. Therefore, it doesn't seem to be a quintessential decision that's quite regular. And they claim that her assertion is inconsistent with federal court decisions that have considered the issue and applied absolute immunity to bar claims in seeking equitable relief. Except she showed literally cases where equitable relief was granted by the court against FINRA. So FINRA keeps saying absolute immunity over and over and over again while ignoring the fact that equitable relief has been made against FINRA in the past by these very courts. Okay, lots of cases they cite here. In this case, there can be no dispute that when FINRA directed its members to halt trading and quoting of the Series A shares pursuant to SEC-approved rule, FINRA was engaged in regulatory functions subject to immunity. Okay. If you made that decision, right, to protect the investors, then why were the investors harmed by that decision? And if that decision happened to only help the short hedge funds who were illegally shorting the stock, then how did stopping trading protect investors as you claimed, which is what the SEC rule says. The SEC rule says they can do this if they're protecting investors, but they harmed us. And that's what Roza's arguing, that their decision harmed investors and therefore was not under the purview granted to them by Congress and under the provisions from the SEC to halt trading. So, brah. All right. Plaintiff allegations of irreparable harm remain speculative. Plaintiff's attempt to cure her failure to allege irreparable harm in the complaint of the TRR motion is equally unavailing. In its opposition, FINRA established the plaintiff failed to allege any injury, much less actual imminent harm. Except she did repeatedly. You're just gaslighting us again. Like plaintiff's initial attempt, the motion makes conclusionary or speculative allegations of imminent harm. Why don't you perhaps talk about what those allegations of harm are and address them specifically, rather than just doing this like vague, hand-wavy, she didn't actually do this. Shareholders, including plaintiff, face loss by either a dilution of their NextBridge interests, which is happening right now, or a total loss because they have not received NextBridge shares, which is also happening right now. The imminent harm to plaintiff and shareholders alike is either the total loss of any rights to assets, MMTLP or NextBridge, or the dilution of NextBridge shares, both remedies harming plaintiff, which is true. These conclusionary allegations of imminent harm are insufficient as a matter of law to support the request for preliminary injunctive relief. Okay. They filed this 2 days after an S1 to dilute the float was made by the company. So therefore, if it was speculative, it was fucking accurate. Right? So here, they're claiming it was just speculative, Your Honor. When it happened, it literally happened. The thing she said could potentially happen that would harm her happened. Oh, we got a regular Nostradamus on our hands here. Okay. Okay. And they don't actually address the people aren't getting their shares thing. So, remember, they halted because they said settlement would be a problem if people got 2 more days of trading. They wouldn't be able to settle, and therefore they wouldn't get their shares. And here we are 50 days later, and people still aren't getting their shares. Okay. Moreover, plaintiff's argument that any purported harm could be mitigated by requiring FINRA to reinstate the original MMTLP QSIP until reconciliation can be verified demonstrates a fundamental misunderstanding of the Meta company action and the scope of FINRA's regulatory authority. Importantly, FINRA understands that Meta already canceled Series A shares that it issued, which were previously traded in the OTC market. They didn't. It was FINRA's job to do that part. Under the symbol MMTLP. Thus, there is nothing that FINRA can reinstate. FINRA still hasn't deleted the ticker. They can turn it back on anytime they want. Why? Because they have not issued the D1 order that deletes the MMTLP ticker. Right here, they just lied to the court. FINRA does not assign QSIPs to securities, and Securities A shares that were traded under MMTLP symbol no longer exist because they were canceled by Meta. They still exist. Mainly because everyone has one in their account still because they don't have the real deal. Okay. The mere existence of MMTLP symbol would not result in Meta reissuing the Series A shares. It has nothing to do with Meta reissuing. It has to do with you closing the short positions, right? FINRA has no authority to require a company to reissue securities. They're not asking you to reissue them. They're asking for you to turn it back on so they can close their positions. You wouldn't be trading the real deal. You'd probably just be trading a bunch of fake shares that never existed in the first place, right? That's the whole point of these naked short shares existing. Plaintiff therefore fails to establish any actual imminent harm. If they haven't gotten their NextBridge shares yet, then they've been harmed. And your action resulted in them not getting their NextBridge shares, which constitutes who harmed them? You, right? Plaintiff therefore fails to establish any actual imminent harm. Moreover, as discussed in FINRA's motion dismissed, the complaint does not allege any concrete or personalized injury to support Article 3 standing. As a result, this court lacks subject matter jurisdiction to consider plaintiff's claims. Okay, here they're saying you can't even take us to this court. This court is monkey business, and therefore, Judge, you're a pissant, and you shouldn't even be looking at this. She stated a fear that the stock would be diluted and she wouldn't have the opportunity to get out. And the stock was diluted. She doesn't have the opportunity to get out. 2, she stated that FINRA's actions would resulted in bad settlement of the NextBridge shares, which it has. And they're gaslighting the judge, saying that none of those things happened. 3, plaintiff's complaints regarding FINRA's exercise of its regulatory authority do not give rise to private right of action. Finally, plaintiff makes a number of arguments criticizing how FINRA exercises regulatory authority. FINRA's consistent actions through the life of MMTLP have demonstrated actions in concert with brokers and market makers to alleviate the obligations of reconciling short positions and naked short positions, which violate securities law. Alleging the accounting would reveal whether FINRA regulated bad actors. FINRA's justification imposing the halt is erroneous, and the timeline of events has consistently demonstrated a lack of regulation. In an effort to address FINRA's purported failures, plaintiff argues judicial intervention is available because there must be a mechanism to check on those acts of SROs and to ensure the self-regulatory conduct is done in good faith. Plaintiff's argument ignores that under the comprehensive regulatory scheme for the securities industry that was established by Congress, FINRA's performance of its responsibilities is subject to the strict ongoing oversight of the SEC. Basically, right here, this is really crazy, is that FINRA admits to fucking up. I don't know if you guys saw it, but Roza points out that FINRA did a bad thing. And FINRA did a bad thing repeatedly in concert with brokers, market makers, etc., right? Such as when FINRA allowed the stock to trade on falsified and forged data. Right? It wasn't supposed to trade, and FINRA let it trade because GTS said, "No, we're gonna make it trade," and FINRA's whatever, and they completely ignored all the rules and regulations required by their own rules and by the SEC to allow this to happen. And then when the complaint was made by Metamaterial to FINRA went, "Oh, too late," right? So in this, they're saying, well, the SEC is supposed to do something about that. SEC is supposed to make sure we don't do those things. So basically they're saying we broke the law, but it was the SEC who was supposed to make sure we didn't break the law, right? They basically admitted their own crime right here. Okay. Thus, Congress has vested in the SEC the obligation of ensuring that FINRA performs its statutory responsibilities. In doing so, Congress not only declined to create an express private cause of action against SROs, but also created an alternative method of enforcement by relying primarily on the SEC. Primarily, not entirely, right? Okay. So they admit to breaking the law and not regulating according to the best practices, but by putting their thumb on the scale and favoring their buddies, right? But then they say, well, we broke the law, but it's the SEC's job to reprimand us, not the courts. That's what they're saying. Basically just admitted to committing all the crimes. All right. For these reasons, and those discussed in FINRA's motion to dismiss, the remainder of plaintiff's arguments need to be addressed in order to establish the motion must be denied, or need not be addressed. Basically saying, you don't have to look at this because we have immunity and fuck you. Conclusion, for the reasons stated herein, FINRA requests the plaintiff's motion for consideration be denied. Okay. David S. Mendel. All right. So that's their double speak gaslighting bullshit. And then they filed a motion to dismiss. Motion dismissed is really long. It's 32 pages. That'll take us about 9,000 years to get through. Okay. In this, they make their same arguments again. That FINRA is a self-regulatory organization. conducts data regulation national securities pursuant to the authority granted by Congress and with oversight from the SEC. Doesn't issue, cancel, settle, clear securities traded, blah, 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 blah. It just happens to help their buddies. Plaintiff alleges antitrust securities law violations in support of her request for equitable relief. The request for relief, however, seeks to prevent or delay company-related action by a party not before the court, which FINRA understands has already occurred. So FINRA is saying, hey man, we only regulate trading stock, and this stock doesn't trade anymore, therefore we can't regulate it. But it doesn't trade anymore because you stopped trading it. So they're going to do more double speak here. And then they're going to say absolute immunity 5,000 times in a row. In the next break prospectus, Meta described two terms of the company-related action that are relevant in this case. Meta would cancel for shares. No, deleted, not canceled. And Meta would release its shares of NextBridge common stock to be distributed to shareholders of the Series A shares on a one-to-one basis, which they did, but it can't be distributed because you halted trading. It's been his understanding that Meta company action occurred on December 14th. Yes. They did send out the shares December 14th, but because no short shares were closed, no one's gotten their friggin' shares. Okay. Indeed, plaintiff initiated this case after FINRA exercised the regulatory authority December 9th to direct its members to halt trading and quoting of Series A shares. On December 13th, 2022, the trading halt ended concurrently with FINRA's deletion of the MMTLP symbol. FINRA has not deleted the MMTLP symbol. They have not done it yet. It has not happened. They've not deleted anything. Nothing has been deleted. There has been no D1 order deleting any of the MMTLP symbols from their system. That has not happened yet. So right here, in their motion to dismiss, they just lied to the court. Okay. Plaintiff's complaint, which is replete with vague and conclusionary allegations, is so vague that she points out exactly how many short shares FINRA says exist. Right? Well, she shows us our own FTD data. I don't know why she was so vague. Cannot overcome FINRA's absolute immunity. They do not have absolute immunity. How many times the client state this? They have immunity to monetary damages. That's it. That's all they have immunity to, is monetary damages. They can be sued. They have been sued many, many times. When it gets thrown out is when people are looking for monetary damages. When it's successful is when they're not looking for monetary damages, such as an accurate accounting or to bring back the 2 days of trading that we were promised. Okay. Court's analysis of the motion need not go beyond considering FINRA's absolute immunity. Again, using the absolute immunity thing. First, this court lacks subject matter jurisdiction of plaintiff's claims because the case is now moot because plaintiff failed to establish she has Article 3 standing. So if you know what Article 3 standing is, so Article 3 of the Constitution establishes the courts. There's Article 1 courts, which is bankruptcy courts. Those are different than Article 3. Article 3 is the federal court system, essentially saying Supreme Court and any other courts that happen to fall under them. Okay. So basically they're saying she can't bring this to an Article 3 court because absolute immunity. Again. Second, if the complaint could overcome these deficiencies, plaintiff's complaint would warrant dismissal because plaintiff failed to state a claim for relief under the Sherman Act or the Exchange Act. She literally did. She went to both. She explicitly showed how they apply to her case and that the court should consider this because of those reasons. So they're gaslighting again and saying she never showed this stuff when she literally did. Sherman Act claim is precluded because FINRA's decision to halt trading is a regulatory function authorized by the Exchange Act. An application of antitrust laws to this activity would be clearly incompatible. Oh my God, there's so much fucking doublespeak in this. She shows that in the Sherman Act and Exchange Act, that FINRA was acting in a violation of antitrust laws. and therefore helping their buddies screw us over. And as a result, can be sued because of that. Plaintiffs' Exchange Act claim suffers from similar fatal flaws. Specifically, in the Private Securities Litigation Reform Act, Congress explicitly vested authority to pursue actions for aiding and abetting securities fraud exclusively in the SEC, not in private parties. So are they admitting that they committed fraud in this then? Your Honor, I may have committed all the fraud we want, but she can't do anything about it, right? Finally, neither the Exchange Act nor any other federal statutes gives the rise to private right of action against SROs for acts or omissions in connection with their duties as security regulator. Unless those actions as security regulator were erroneous themselves, which they don't note. For reasons plaintiff complaint should be dismissed with prejudice. Factual background: FINRA's role regulating securities industry. Blah, 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 blah. FINRA created blah, 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 blah. Among regulatory obligations, the Exchange Act requires FINRA to establish rules designed to prevent fraudulent and manipulative acts and practices, to promote just and equitable principles of trade, to foster cooperation and coordination with persons engaged in regulating, clearing, settling, processing information with respect to and facilitating transaction securities, and in general to protect investors and the public interests. U.S. Code, blah, 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 blah. So, it's designed to prevent fraudulent, manipulative acts and practices. Then why didn't they prevent the fraudulent, manipulative actions of the short sellers of Torchlight and MTLP? Right there in the first sentence of their counter mission statement, they didn't do their job. Okay, to promote just and equitable principles of trade. If they want to promote just and equitable principles of trade, why didn't they force close the positions, short positions, before the company went private? Two flaws right there in their mission statement. To foster cooperation and coordination with persons engaged in regulating, blah, 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 blah. Okay, they did basically racketeer and collude with those engaged in regulating, clearing, settling, processing, and in general to protect investors and the public interest. This is where she was showing that she was harmed, and that they didn't protect her, they harmed her by not allowing the continuum of trading. So throwing up there, like, look at us, this is our mission statement, Your Honor, we do really good works. This is like when Google's mission statement was like, do no evil, and then became a giant monopoly taking over other companies, right? That they like clearly have engaged in evil. Like, Your Honor, our protocol said do no evil, so therefore we obviously can't be doing any evil. Just because your mission statement states one thing doesn't mean you actually follow it, right? Especially if your entire board is made up of insiders at the people you're supposed to be regulating. This problem with self-regulatory agencies is that they shouldn't fucking exist in the first place. It should just be a bunch of stone cold bureaucrats who aren't allowed to work in the financial industry, who are type A's and just want to see everybody burn. That should be who does it. It's not like let's say you're a career criminal, right? Like you rob, cheat, steal, rape, maim, do whatever. And then you take a new job as a police officer. Where you're like, okay, my job now is to regulate all the criminals out there. I'm going to be a really honest cop because the side of my car says protect and serve. You see, Honor, I'm just a self-regulatory agency. And, even though in 2 years I'm going to go back to committing all my crimes again, you can trust me, officer, Your Honor. Okay. FINRA is subject to significant oversight by the SEC. Okay. First of all, the biggest joke in the entire world, because the SEC doesn't do shit, and we know it, right? The Madoff documentary on Netflix is a great example of showing the SEC does not know how to regulate properly. FINRA exercises regulatory authority in accordance with the requirements of the Exchange Act and under close supervision of the SEC. Really? Under close supervision of the SEC? Then SEC approved the S1, right? The SEC approved MMTLP's action to become a private company, and you overstepped that with your own bullshit. So you overstepped what the SEC said was going to happen, and so you disobeyed the SEC. SEC enforces FINRA's regulation of the OTC market. Pursuant to authority delegated under Exchange Act, FINRA performs several regulatory functions in the OTC market, including, among others, maintaining a symbols directory for OTC equity securities and adopting rules regarding quoting and trading in OTC securities. FINRA rules and amendments thereto that are relevant to issues presented in this case were approved by the SEC. Yep. And they also approved the S1 ding-dongs. Okay. Rule 6440, trading and halting OTC equity stocks. Rule 6440 authorizes FINRA to direct its members to halt trading and quoting in an OTC security when it is necessary to protect investors and public interest, including where FINRA determines that an extraordinary event has occurred or is ongoing that has caused or has the potential to cause major disruptions in the marketplace or significant uncertainty in the settlement and clearings process. Okay. Remember, uncertainty in the settlement or clearance process. They claimed that if anybody opened new positions on the 9th or 12th of December in the stock, it would provide uncertainty in clearing, and that's why they had to halt trading. But because they halted trading and brokers weren't able to force close positions, short positions, before end of trading on the 12th, there has been nothing but uncertainty in the clearing and settlement of the NextBridge shares. So the distribution cannot happen because of the actions you took claiming it you had to take because this was going to happen. This is like a dude who sets a house on fire and then calls the ambulance or the fire company to come put it out and then wants to be called a hero for getting the house fire put out. Like, you caused this, dude. Hey, cat. It's so much fucking double speak. Okay. In announcing the rule change approved by SEC, explained it would exercise its discretion based on the facts and circumstances of a particular event to determine if a trading halt is the appropriate mechanism to protect investors and ensure fair and orderly marketplace. So basically, they're saying, like, we have the delegation, we've been delegated this authority as long as we use it to protect investors. But Roza's lawsuit is showing that their action harmed investors. Therefore, they didn't use their delegated authority properly. But they're still trying to claim that we did the right thing, Your Honor, even though we kind of admitted that we broke the rules, that SEC should be busting us for it and not her. Rule 6490 codifies requirements for issuers of a class of publicly traded securities to provide a timely notice to FINRA of certain company-related actions. You became aware of this in July. You had 6 months, dude. 6 months. They gave you notice after notice after notice after notice after it was approved by the SEC on November 16th or whatever. They sent you a request for corporate action, and you spent more than 3 weeks dicking around, not doing anything before you released your corporate action. So requires issuers of publicly traded securities to provide a timely notice to FINRA of certain company-related actions. They did. You just didn't do your job. All right? FINRA processed documentation of company-related action. They provided ample time. And you took your sweet time to issue a 2-sentence corporate action that you fudged up and had to re-edit because you used the term canceled instead of deleted. And then 12 hours later, had a panic attack and canceled trading. FINRA does not approve a company-related action submitted pursuant to blah, blah, blah. FINRA reviews documents submitted in its connection with company-related action, and if the documents are not deemed deficient, FINRA processes a request and provides notice of the company-related action through announcement in the FINRA Daily List publication, which you took 3 weeks to do. All right. And then you posted with the wrong term. Okay. The NextBridge prospectus, which attached as Exhibit B to plaintiff's complaint, describes Meta company action. The prospectus says NextBridge is a wholly owned subsidiary of Meta. Meta held all the common stock issued by NextBridge. The prospectus provides that on the distribution date set by Meta, Meta would release the NextBridge shares to a distribution agent that would distribute the NextBridge shares in book entry form, and Meta would cancel Series A shares. The prospectus further explains that each holder of Series A shares, December 12th, data record set by Meta, would be entitled to receive the one NextBridge share for each Series A share. According to the prospectus, following the Meta company action, NextBridge would be an independent, non-trading public reporting company. Only until December 31st of 2022, and after that as a private company. Meta submitted a request to FINRA pursuant to FINRA Rule 6490 to process documentation Meta company action. On December 6th, as modified December 8th, for announced Meta company action, a share exchange on the daily list publication, announcement, blah, blah, blah. Announcement explain MMTLP shareholders with settled positions as of December 12th will receive one NextBridge share. Among other things, the announced further explained that any purchases of MMTLP executed after December 8th would not receive distribution. Notice the the ellipses here, the that they put in, right? The next words were settlement would be the obligation of the seller. So they're leaving out the part of this that explains why trading would be able to continue for 2 more days. They're omitting very important facts of law here to the court. This ellipses of 4 dots, it should be 3, is very, 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 very what would be the term I'm looking for here, monkey dog? Carry a lot of weight. Very important. Quite the omission. Will not receive distribution, but if you continue to trade after this date, settlement would have to be done by the seller. Okay. Meta company action was finalized December 14th when they issued the NextBridge shares. The trading halt. December 9th, FINRA exercises authority under FINRA Rule 6440 to direct its members to halt trading and quoting in Series A shares because an extraordinary event has occurred or is ongoing that has caused or has the potential to cause significant uncertainty in the settlement and clearing process of shares. So going through their little rule again. As announced, the trading halt ended concurrent with the deletion of MMTLP symbol effective Tuesday, December 13th, 2022. You can go to FINRA's website and look for the order to delete the MMTLP symbol, and you will find they have never issued the order to delete that symbol. No D1 order has ever been done. So again, here is FINRA lying to the judge. Standards review. To survive a motion to dismiss or lack of subject matter jurisdiction, complaint must plausibly allege facts showing jurisdiction over the plaintiff's blah, 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 blah. Claims. As part of this requirement, plaintiff must set forth plausible allegations to establish each element of standing under Article 3 of the Constitution. And to survive motion to dismiss for failure to state claim, a complaint must contain sufficient factual allegations to state a claim to relief that is plausible on its face. Bare legal conclusions are insufficient. Basically, they're saying, again, they're gaslighting the judge again, saying that Roza never actually showed how she was harmed or evidence that FINRA acted poorly or did their job inappropriately, even though she did it several times. Argument. Absolute immunity bars plaintiff's complaints. They don't have absolute immunity. Imposition of a halt that suspends trading is a quintessential regulatory function. It is a quintessential regulatory function, but one that you abused. That's her entire her entire case. Okay. They're just going to do this over and over and over again. And talk about immunity, the same arguments they made over and over again. So there's really nothing new in this motion to dismiss thing. We could probably just, do a little jerk-off motion and assume Roza will address this quite handily. They still have until the 1st to respond to her initial complaint, which is next Wednesday. And that response is likely going to have to be piece by piece through the entire complaint, which is 202 pages. So I'm curious to see what it is that they get in here. Okay. All right. So they're just doing the same arguments they did over and over again. We'll just save you guys this guy. And just know that there you go. Okay. All right. I've missed so many chats so far. Let's go big. Let's Daphne. Hi Houston, many of the audience are hoping you can talk about why Ape is taking off. Please and thank you. Also, thank you for your legal review services. Welcome. Hopefully we'll be able to get Roza on here next week. I'm sure she's got lots of things she's got to write and do, so we'll see, I guess. All right, why Ape is taking off? When Ape started taking off? Go away. It is taking off. Where were we? We had a low of $1.74. It's a $1.92. It's up 20 cents. Interesting. Interesting. Wait, why aren't you showing the after hours? Show me the after hours, ding dong. Where is there we go. Okay, $1.92 shot up to 264 and is now settling out at 230. I don't see a volume. 156 volume, 156,000, 250,000. So we're looking at 35. Wait, 84, 175, 200, 257. Okay, so we got about I don't know, 1.5 million shares trading right here. I do wonder what's going on. I have no idea. I don't see any headlines popping up here that would state why that would be. AMC outperforms competitors on a strong trading day. I don't know. So not a clue. Not a clue, friends and family, why we had this weird spike at 5 p.m. Someone did Marge call? That happened? Weird. I don't know. I honestly don't know. But there's a huge spike, about a couple million after hours trades, and just a few minutes, and then it settled out. So the trades are super tiny now. Now we're looking at, 10,000, 3,000, 500, things like that. Like these are negligible amounts of trades compared to what's happening before. Oh, you guys can't see what the hell I'm doing. God damn it. So here we go. Negligible volume, and then all of a sudden, boom, 20,000, 100,000, 35,000, 300,000, 175,000, 257,000, 175,000, and then it's like back to the hundreds again. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I'm sure there'll be people that can dive deeper into what trades happen and who they think were making them. To me, that sounds like somebody needed 1 million shares lickety split, and they went and got it. Actually, might have been closer to 2 million. Trying to estimate how many that is. Ecorleto 46 Houston. Wish I could join today. Please post ASAP so I can watch tonight. Thanks for everything. It'll go up there. Okay. Piece of tech. Any options ideas? Maybe a good time to buy some puts on the SPY. Might try and ride GME down since my call's printed. What a bizarre market. Man. So one of the rumors is there's a new board member at Bed Bath & Beyond who's connected to Carl Icahn. I haven't verified that myself. In their most recent filing, the 10K, they apparently put in size 1 font hidden in the page the word merger in white lettering, which is interesting. They're gonna do something. They got called out by one of their lenders that they're in default of their obligation to pay interest. So maybe something weird happening there. Personally, if I'm going to play options, I'm going to probably go with GME, looking out maybe 2 months to see what happens in the coming days after the monkey wants to go investigate somebody. Go see what's going on. All right. And my guess is they're gonna have a big old jump at some point as people panic and have to buy to be able to cover their positions. So because all those dooms expired and they've not done the huge amount of buying they have to do of those deep out of the money puts and calls in order to make up for their locates. So, MMTL peed my shorts. Hey, Houston, happy birthday. It's actually my birthday today. Happy birthday, peed my shorts. Did you hear about Elon SpaceX going to open the first restaurant on the moon, looking like it has good food but no atmosphere? That is the oldest joke, space joke ever. So old. Jimmy D, my meme stonk calls made me white. This is the best cult ever. What? Carlos Cruz has got coordinates for us. You know me. If you're going to pay for coordinates, I definitely have to go visit them. Control C. Shaboom. Shebang. And shaboop. Bam, bam, bam. Where are we going? Going South Pacific. We're going to a little island. We're going. Oh, we're taking us Penis Island again. Dang it! I need to, now. I need to remember Penis Island's coordinates. 2166. 2166. Let's see 2166, and we are at Hojats, historical landmark, New Caledonia, Schlonger Island. What should we go into more at this point? I think we've gone to Eye of Africa more times, but Schlonger Island has to be number 2. It has to be number 2. That's the second most. Yeah. All right. 2166. 2166. 20. If I see 2166, we're going to Schlonger Island. Remember that. All right. So. Willy Wonka announced they're doing the conversion of Ape to AMC. Is that what did the press release come out saying that's happening for sure, Willy Wonka? Penn and Paul Worldwide, AMC announced March 14th special meeting for votes on convergence and reverse split. Official notice came out right before Ape ran. Okay. So it's people buying in last minute, knowing that this thing will be worth like 2 times what they bought it for. Got it. Because remember, you buy it $2, it merges, becomes worth $5. Then they do the reverse split, and then the 10 of them or whatever become a $50 share of stock. Okay, thank you. William Morgan Houston still refuses to admit him to his twin brother. All right. Okay. My voice is sore. That was a lot of legal talk. Wow, you done? Okay, you back? All right. We'll close the door again. Did you do whatever it is you're supposed to do? Yeah? Okay. All right. Makes me wonder if I'm supposed to check my phone right now. Nope. No messages. Because the way you're acting is like as if somebody you knew you went outside, your ears are cold. Okay. All right. Quiet Quest, could NextBridge do small divvies before the big sale? Yeah. Personally, if I were NextBridge, I would do like a 1 cent dividend just so people can see on their statements if they got a PIL or not. I think that would be really interesting to see, like how many PILs got issued as a result of that 1 cent dividend. It would cost them $1.65, $1.7 million to do. It might be worth it to just see, how many PILs get issued in people's statements as a result of that 1 cent dividend. Okay. Lost Waves. Houston scientists have proven that the Sasquatch is real. Take a look at the plastic cast of his foot. You know it's real. What? There's some scientists trying to figure out the Sasquatch riddle, and they figured out it was a missing link. Listen real close. The audio tape, not a human. How you know he is real? Couldn't be a man in a gorilla suit. No effing way. You know he's real. Real. I've never met Sasquatch, and until I do, he does not exist. That's the way I'm putting it. I spent enough times out in the woods, climbing around, doing things. Ain't never met a Sasquatch. So until Sasquatch like high fives me, I'm just gonna go nah. Yogi Houston, can you explain to unions like AFGE and Teamsters how naked short selling FTDs affect their pensions and 401ks? Yes. Okay. Members of unions, people who have pensions and 401k accounts, your retirement, you go out, either you purchase the stock or the pension plan purchases the stock, because I've got some sort of manager who manages that accounting. And you hope that they get stock that either increases in value, is able to give out dividends, so that when you put money in, by the time you retire, there's more of it in there than you started with, and you now financed your retirement. All right, so mutual funds, institutions, index funds, pension funds, they like to lend out their shares to short sellers, collect the interest on that, make some money off of that, and then they're like, okay, we made some money off of that. But they never take into consideration that when they lend these shares out, the shorts have a plan to drive the value of that stock down to hopefully nothing, right? They want to drive down to zero, because if they can drive it down to zero, then they don't have to pay any taxes on their short sales. They don't have to return any shares. So they're totally cool. So if you have a stock that's worth $100 and you lend it to a short seller, the entire intention of the short seller is to sell that stock for $100 and then buy it back at something significantly lower, right? And then return that stock to you. Then the stock that you bought for $100, by the time you get it back, is worth significantly less than the $100 that it was before. And your pension fund, and your retirement account, and your mutual fund, and whatever has now lost value as a result. It is now a poor performing fund. So when you lend these shares out, yeah, you might be able to collect, a 1-2% interest rate on the value of those shares, but does it make up for the 90% drop in the value of the shares themselves by the time you get it back? Like, I don't see the upside to anyone lending out shares unless they know the short hedge fund is so stupid that those shares are going to be worth more by the time they give them back. And over the last 30 years, that's seldom been the case. So why do it? Why give them the ammo to destroy the value of your own fund for a few bucks? Pittance. This whole like cost to borrow at 300% thing is a rare situation. Oh, sneeze coming on. Come on, sneeze. Excuse me. Feel that one coming. So yeah, it affects your pensions, it affects your 401ks, and stop giving them ammo. Right? You aren't making enough money off of it by lending to them. You aren't. You're just losing the value of your stocks. Okay. Josh Pet Pals, Tennessee. Hey, Houston, just because I want to, would you rather have butter in all shoes you ever wear or eat all the meals in bubblegum form? So, every meal I get will have to be bubblegum, but you shouldn't swallow bubblegum, right? That's the old wives' tale, that like it sits in your system for 7 years, which I don't think is true at all. I think you just poop it out. But is it bubblegum flavor, like the flavor of bubblegum, or is it the flavor of the meals? Like if I'm having turkey and gravy, am I chewing turkey and gravy, or does it just look like turkey and gravy and then it tastes like bubble gum? Butter on all my shoes, like in a picture, right? You just choose, put your feet in there, and there's just some slimy butter, which would get really annoying. But at that point, like, I could move somewhere tropical and just not wear shoes. I could be like, no, I'm never wearing shoes again, man. Just me and my hippie commune people. So there is an out to that. There, I do have a way out. And with flip flops count as shoes? Because those would be kind of impossible when you get them all buttery. Because if anyone's ever gotten like a pair of flip flops wet and your feet just sliding all over the place on top of those things, I'm gonna go with butter in my shoes over everything being bubblegum, because either way, that seems really annoying. At least I'd know the consistency of butter in my shoes, and there would be ways that I could probably mitigate or find loopholes. But I'm gonna go with butter in the shoes. Plus, my feet would smell way more delicious than they do now. I'll be honest. All right. Quiet Quest. What is the worst outcome of MMTLP? Well, I guess the worst outcome is you never get your shares, and the company never sells. So you never get like, because they never sell the assets, you never get your dividend, cash dividend that we're supposed to get. So that'd probably be the worst outcome. Yeah. And like, they don't get enough money, therefore they miss their drilling dates and then they lose the leases, and that'd probably be the terrible outcome, which is what they'd probably try to do if they could take over the board. But because the company's not publicly traded, they won't have that chance. Josh Pepels, Tennessee. Definitely flavored things as bubblegum, and your feet are covered in butter regardless. Oh, now you're changing the rules on me, huh? Before it was just butter in all your shoes, but now if I'm barefoot, I just have butter on my feet. Yeah, it's like playing a board game with a toddler, just changing the rules as they go along there, Josh. All right. Wheat Wild, I'm feeling bad since finishing up a cold, so it's early bed for me tonight. Have a good show. There are some coordinates for you. Don't worry, it's not Eye of Africa. Oh, well, I don't see, you didn't put any coordinates in there, Wheat Wild. I don't see them. Chad Tremendous. Hey, Houston. Say news hits and Putin croaks. Would markets soar? What are some things that would happen? Is this possible? I mean, Putin dying? Yes, Putin's dying is possible. The man's in his 70s. He obviously has lots of health issues. I think there'd be some trepidation. There might be like, oh, Putin's dead. Stuff goes up for a second. Oil drops a little bit, whatever. But it would be very interesting to see who steps into his shoes. Would Medvedev immediately just assume the role? Or would there be like a coup? Because it sounds like the head of Wagner Group. What's that dude's name, Monkey? I can't remember his name either. Whatever. Really wants the role of Tsar. I wouldn't doubt there are other members of the military, other mafia members who would fight for that role. So I'm not sure exactly what this succession would look like. Succession would look like. But it's going to be hard to find someone worse than Putin. So, I mean, they could easily be just as bad, but like objectively worse would be a hard find. So, but my guess is that Putin has basically killed or gotten rid of anybody who's competent, right? Either they're in jail, they're dead, or they've been exiled. And so all those people who are competent leaders to take over, who are a threat to Putin's power, they're gone. So anyone who's going to take over is probably going to be not very good at what they do. So Russia's probably going to suck a lot harder for a lot longer as a result. But yeah. Casey Chapman, why is it so hard for cops to stop killing people? You got me, man. I mean, it's a job that will appeal to people who, have personality disorders. Like, what sociopath who doesn't like getting away with things would want to become a cop, right? You go to like Sweden or Denmark, then the cops there, they all have like 4-year degrees and thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of training and de-escalation and practices. And here in the US, like in Washington State, it's 700 hours of training to become a cop. It's 2,000 hours of training to be allowed to put makeup on people's faces. Like, one carries a gun, has the ability to kill people with qualified immunity, and the other puts makeup on people. You want to become a barber? 1,500 hours of training, so more than twice as much as a cop. I cut my own hair. I have had no training whatsoever, and I've been cutting my own hair for 20 plus years. I did it one day and went, zzz, that seems all right. Should I have to go to barber school to learn how to use a fucking razor? No. Right? But if I want to do it commercially, I gotta do 1,500 hours of training, man. But if I wanted like the opportunity to kill people and not get in trouble for it, 700 hours. So it's ridiculous. Meow meow. Do you think institutions are trying to kill the land sale behind the scenes to eliminate the dividend? I wouldn't put it past them, right? If you can stall them from drilling and they lose the lease, or you can keep another oil company from buying up the lease from them, then you've effectively killed the need to do a giant payout. So if it would cost you, let's say, $50 million in bribes, right? You bribe the right people, you ensure that this thing never goes through, you just saved yourself $100 billion in PILs from all the naked shares that you created. So then the company blinks out of existence. You never owe the NextBridge shares on it, and you never owe the cash PIL that you have to pay out to everybody for the sale of those assets. So it's like everything else. Like, you could close your position, or you can pay a few $1,000s to a finance writer, and they'll write a hit piece on the company for you on Motley Fool or Market Watch or whatever. This is kind of, look at the cost of investment. Like, if you're going to be out $1 bajillion anyway, you may as well try the, bribey fraud way first, because, if you're out trillions of dollars, you're out trillions of dollars. So that's what they do. Ted Tremendous. Test J was thought to be by BlackRock Aladdin. The AI seems to think a warrant stock could trade again, resulting in 84 stocks and blue chips halted. The world's most powerful AI believes this possible. Well, one of the interesting things to come down is that we saw the other day that people who tried to transfer shares to AST discovered that warrants got transferred to AST instead. Think about warrants. Warrants are for those of you who don't know what a warrant is kind of like an option. It's the right to buy a share at a certain price on a certain date. So you could say, hey, I'll buy your stock at $10, but I won't do it until May 14th. And so the company issues a warrant for those shares to that person. Warrants are created by the issuers of the stock, right? So if there's a bunch of warrants sitting in there for NextBridge, they were not created by the issuer of NextBridge shares. They're created by brokers. So what is that then a warrant? If it's not created by the issuer of the stock, then what is it? Right? It's like a counterfeit warrant. I'm not sure what it is and what they're doing. I don't know. I don't know, man. It's weird. Ted Tremendous. Warren Buffett made most of his money in bear markets. How do you make money in bear markets? Shorting. in puts. That's how you make money in bear markets. Whew. Then when you make the extra cash off of that, you buy at the bottom and watch everything go back up again. And that's how you do it. That's how you make money in a bear market. Okay. 56. Okay, I got 34 minutes, folks. And then it's time for me to shovel off. Kenneth Martin FINRA did not delete MMTLP as yet, just came out through the art guy. Yep. Saw that video. I passed it along to Roza. They have not done the D1 order that deletes the ticker. Tara Jones, is it normal for people to lie to a judge like this? Yes. Yes, it is. They love to do it. You look like I look like Velma? What? Okay. There's lots of conversations happening while I'm going through legal crap, trying to scroll past that. People talking about ape after hours. Bruce and Nui. Roza needs to make this go to trial. That's how she can tear down the BS. Replies that FINRA continues to blabber out in real time. Man, trial will be so expensive and be so far away. Oh my goodness. That's why she was hoping for TRO and injunctive relief. Was like, this is timely, judge. Fix this now. Make this right, so we don't have to go to trial. And I think FINRA is trying to either get it dismissed or to draw this out so long that it does go to trial, and then we don't have the time, energy, money to do anything about it. I think it's interesting. It's interesting that like how much gaslighting is in those documents and how they don't actually address any of the arguments she made. Like she pointed out specifically in the Exchange Act and the Sherman Act how this applies, and then the FINRA lawyers went, it doesn't apply. Right? This is the times that FINRA has been successfully sued and forced to perform an injunctive relief, and FINRA's like, you see nothing. These are not the droids you're looking for. That's what they're trying to do. Into Deep got some spots for me. So this is out west. Let's see here. Leave Schlong Island. Go somewhere in maybe like Oregon. Oops, that is not the copy that. Control D. There we go. What is it? Is this Oregon? Nevada? Idaho? Where are we? We are in a little village. Granite, Montana. Oh, we're in Montana. Granite Ghost Town State Park. I have not been to this one. Where are you? You are... That's... Looks like the motherfucking Belt Supergroup. It's Idaho. Butte. It's not quite to Butte. What's a little ghost town up here? I've not been to Granite. But... Pictures? Let's see here. Photos. Any photos in this zone? Got some. Okay. All right, that's the tailings pile. You guys can't see if I post pictures. There's looks like the old mill. There's a head stack for the deep mine. Abandoned barn. Looks like a brick building of some kind. Ghost town cabins. All right. So where did my turn that part off? Go away. I said turn off. The part of turn off. Do you understand? Granite, Montana. Full article. Give it to me. Ghost town, Granite County, Montana, United States, 3 miles east of the town of Phillipsburg. Granite thrived as a silver mining town in the 1890s and is now completely deserted. The state of Montana maintains the mine superintendent's house and ruins of the Union Hall as Granite Ghost Town State Park. So that's the Union Hall. That's where the miners. That's not really maintaining the Union Hall if it doesn't actually have a roof or anything. Doesn't seem like much maintenance going on there. Sherman Silver Purchase Act was repealed in 1893, drastically lowering the price of silver, and many residents left Granite, leaving only 140 residents a year later. Granite is currently entirely uninhabited. Well, there you go. It's a cool little town. I have not been to Granite. I have not written about Granite yet. You want to go visit? Is it mentioned in here? It's probably mentioned in here. I just haven't made it there yet. Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, 393. 393. Utah. Okay, index. Montana. Granite, 415. Oops, that's too far. Mammoth. 415, Granite, Montana. Phillipsburg is much too alive to qualify as dead ghost town. This was written in like 1958. But it's contemporary with one of the most interesting of Montana's historic camps. Granite figures so much in its history that it cannot be ignored. About 16 miles southwest are the sapphire deposits of the Rock Creek area. These gems are found in gravels of several gulches, Anaconda, Sapphire, and others. When the stones were first discovered in 1892, the usual exaggerated, excited announcements were made as to size, rich, deep color. The stones actually run rather small, ranging from 1/4 to 1/2 inch with sprinkling of larger ones. Those are still decent-sized sapphires, by the way. The gems were first discovered in routine placer operations for gold and are still being obtained by various hydraulic and sluicing operations. From 1899 to 1900, 400,000 carats were recovered from the sluice boxes. Of this amount, about 25,000 carats were suitable for faceting, meaning they got a whole bunch of tiny ones and a couple of decent-sized big ones. The remaining being put to commercial use. As for watch jewels, for this latter use, the Montana sapphires were in demand as they required less work to ready them and brought $2 to $6 per ounce. The Bank of Granite has vanished entirely, but the vault remains. Its heavy iron doors have become unhinged, and the old records have blown all over the mountainside. I would have loved to have been able to visit these ghost towns in like the 1950s when like they hadn't been stripped by a bunch of meth heads and stuff. It's been so cool. Like this is what the Miners Union Hall looked like in the 1950s. So that picture you saw earlier where like the whole face is gone, this is what it looked like, 60, 70 years ago. Okay. The Bank of Granite has vanished entirely. Among them are billheads marked Phillipsburg Foundry with the dates all through the 80s and 90s, 1880s and 90s. Bowen and Thompson were the proppers and listed such cryptic items as battery shoes, spiders, R&B keys, and 5-foot straight bars. These items are hundreds more or were billed every few days to Granite Mountain Mining Company, and the concern must have provided the lifeblood of the upkeep of the mines of old granite. Situated almost on the very top of a mountain, Granite affords a splendid view. Mr. Henry Kissel has lived in his mountaintop area since his arrival here in 1889. At the age of 9, he was born in the old Camp Elkhorn. He says that the town hit its peak in 1892 with 3,600 people. It turned out $60 million in silver, he said. Though other sources do not agree with this, some people say only 58 million. There was lots of money around anyway, as Mr. Fisher kept a herd of cows down in the valley and made trips up here every day with milk, this being a real luxury. Brought a good price, and at the end of the month, he would make his collections amounting to a lot of money. One time, he had $480 and was held up by bandits on the way down the hill. He wouldn't give up his money, so they shot him in the chest and took it. He lived to tell the story. So, this looks like... This looks like, I think this was probably a brothel. This building. Cool. All right. well, the Wikipedia article fails to mention the sapphires that were involved there. All right. Chud McGruff, Houston, how is FINRA allowed to lie? Will the judge just believe those lies and mistruths? This all seems like we can never win. I would hope that if the judge just completely goes, immunity, dismissal, that Roza files an appeal to the appellate court. Because the appellate court then will look at all this, will read everything, and go, because there'll be 3 judges or 9 judges, depends on how many they'd have. Look at this thing. And they'll look at it, and someone's going to have to point out, like, wait a minute. You said this, but it actually shows this. So how do you rectify that? And if they find that the lawyer is basically gaslighting the judge at the lower court level, then they're going to send it back down there and reprimand the judge and say, hey, you, read this crap before you make a decision. Because that's what they'll do. And no judge wants to get reprimanded like that by an upper court. Be like, dude, why aren't you doing your job? Do your job. Rockabut gave you rabbit ears before lying down. Did you give me rabbit ears? Huh? Are you a rabbit ear giver? Side eye. Side eye dog. The queen of the side eye. Ecorleto 46 MMTLP still active on stock twits, looking now and no action. So I mean, also the graphs have shown up on several trading platforms too. Like all of a sudden last week, like, well, the graphs are back. I think they're totally prepared if they have to go trading's back on and do it for those 2 days, and like everyone's just kind of sitting around waiting to see what happens, and because there's no way to close this out otherwise. You cannot close the short positions without trading being available. And if you can't trade, then you can't close. And if you can't close, then what? You're going to be facing legal actions forever. PPARP04, I'm in DC. Anyone else made it to any of the offices at SEC? Yeah, how's the protest going? I have not looked at all. SEC protest. Washington, DC. Anything popping up in the news? Retail investors plan to demonstrate. Retail investors plan to demonstrate. That's from 3 days ago. 3 hours ago. No. So Google News has nothing up to date as to the protests happening in DC. There's been a media blackout, it looks like. The closest I can get is from 3 and 4 days ago, saying that there's a protest happening. That's all that pops up. Oh wait, here's Fox Business. Okay. There's somebody at least reporting on it. Protesters gather at Robinhood headquarters, SEC, New York Stock Exchange. Protests come in response. Protests come in response to investing app Robinhood's decision to restrict stock trades on Thursday. That is not at all what this is about. It has nothing to do with Robinhood. What the fuck? What? Some people protests have formed outside Robinhood headquarters in Menlo Park, California. The Securities Exchange Commission, DC, and New York Stock Exchange Thursday following a call made in a now deleted post on a speculative investing subreddit forum Wall Street Bets. What? This is... has nothing to do with fucking Robinhood. What? What is this crap? What? Looks kind of like a weak turnout here. This is the one in San Francisco. York Stock Exchange. SEC protests. There's not very many people made it out there. Oh, is this 2021? Oh, oh god, this is 2 years ago. That's why it has nothing to do with this. Oh, I was like, what is going on? What are they talking about? Protests have nothing to do with that. Go back. There we go. All right. I'm smoking crack. That's my fault. I'm an idiot. Just slap me in the face. But nothing. 2022. Look at your dates, Houston. Make sure you look at your dates. 2008. Okay. 2022. Okay, so nothing relevant and new. We got 3 days ago talking about the demonstration. That's it. That's only mentions we got. Huh. Okay. Cheshire K, please give Monkey Butt a treat. Where's the cat? The cat wandered away, but we can give Monkey Butt a treat. Watch her head spin around. Oh, yeah. Was that the goodness? Yeah, you want one of these? Are you a good dog? Are you a good dog? Should I come get it? Should I come get it? Yeah, is that what you want? Okay. You actually have to chew that one. You can't just swallow it straight away. That's pretty amazing. One more? Okay, one more. One more for the monkey butt. Come get it. Come get it. Come get it. Come on, you can get it. Come on. Come on. Come on, you can get it. Come on. You have some balls. Get it. Smells like beef jerky. That's for sure. All right, that's it. You get 2. There's still like 60 more ounces where that came from, so that'll last us a while. Yay, Costco, huh? Oh, it's so good. So you're so happy now. Aren't you so happy? Are you a happy dog? Okay, get there. Yeah, get up there. Come on. Get up there. Come on. Get up there. Okay. Ranks Kapuri. I hope I said that right. If I do not register NextBridge shares to AST because broker got them as physical certificates and broker keeps those shares to its book, is there a way NextBridge know I'm an investor? Not a clue, man. I'm not bothering to register simply because if trading does open up, trading from a brokerage platform is way easier than trading from a registered agent or a transfer agent platform. So I'm just, if it opens up trading, cool. If it doesn't, then I'll get a PIL for whatever dividend comes out in the future. That's why I'm going to leave. That's why I'm going to leave it. Iggy Lemon, Houston. The EU could hold a Russian SmackDown like WWE and help pick the new leader that way. In this corner, an oligarch weighing in at 350 pounds, Igor Blankmovich. And in this corner, a military contractor coming in at 6'3", 295 pounds. Yeah, just have them beat the shit out of each other, and whoever remains, that's probably as good a reason as any to have a leader in Russia. J-Dog seems FINRA might have used ChatGPT for a better response. People talking about Charles Payne interviewed the Marine Mike, the guy that helped organize the FINRA or the SEC FINRA protests. Awesome. There's at least somebody talking about it, which, you know, we need someone to talk about this crap who has a position of power. Georgia Hurd, hello all. True story. I used my lunchtime to look at this look for this FINRA response and couldn't find anything. Looked at my workmate and said, "Am I dreaming this shit now?" Let's see, I'm not loony. Gamone posted the Charles Payne segment. Awesome. And they didn't mention MMTLP at all. Huh. And Monkey buys lightning quick reflexes. She does. She does. Okay. Does that mean I'm caught up here? Did I miss anything? There's a lot of conversations that were happening, and I think I'm currently caught up. With 13 minutes to go. So, what you got for me, folks? Man, Monkey, you got anything to add? No, just side eye. Just side eye. Okay. Just looking over his shoulder. So Marius does the little clips. He cuts the clips and puts them up via topic, which is, oh my gosh, it's so wonderful. And during one of my clips, Monkey is just dead asleep the entire time. And somebody who obviously never been to my channel before commented, "Is that a dead dog on a wood plank?" Because for whatever 10 minutes I talked, Monkey didn't move once. Meow Meow, riots might break out tonight. Why do the police never learn? I'm staying in tonight. Where are you based, Meow Meow? Are you in Memphis? If you guys have not been reading up on the cops that killed the guy in Memphis, and there's apparently video footage of it, and it's so bad that they arrested the cops and put them in jail and told everyone it's terrible. Please don't riot, because the video is gonna come out eventually, and when it does, apparently it's so graphic and so awful that they expect Memphis to just burn to the ground tonight if the video comes out. So I do not, and I do not. I feel for the people who are, Casey Chapman's in Memphis. Yeah, man, like it sounds heinous. Whatever it was that went down that killed that poor guy. Probably worse than Rodney King because it resulted in a death. And I've never seen the authorities take action this swiftly before. So it's got to be really, 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 really bad. So yes, people, they've been doing their best to prepare everyone for how heinous this is going to be. And yeah, so stay safe. If it does go absolutely haywire out there in Memphis or other places around the country, like the anger will probably be justified from the sound of what the way they cracked down on these cops and arrested them for murder and charged them already without the video coming out yet. But I'll ask yourself, like, if there was no video, would they have taken the action? They released it, Julianne? I haven't seen it yet. I don't know if I want to see it. I don't like seeing stuff like that. But if there was no video, they'd be like, "Oh, he died while in custody. Oops," and no one would have been charged for anything. So, the video. Oftentimes we see the video and nothing happens to him, so it must be really, really, really bad. So stay safe, everybody. If you're in Memphis or another major city that might have some angry protests happen, just stay safe. Some of you may even be on the street getting pissed off. I don't know, but I don't see good things happening from that anger that may come out of this. So stay safe if you can. The O-Tang clan. Robinhood says they are holding MMTLP shares and AST in aggregate Any thoughts on how these can trade if it opens back up? Honestly, not a clue. I mean, they might be holding it in AST in Robinhood's name. Is that what they're talking about? They're doing an aggregate. So like Robinhood's like, here, take all these. It's still in our name. So they still have an accounting as to who owns what. And then I guess if it starts trading again, Robinhood just does their accounting, and then assigns the next bridge shares to whoever's left. Would be my guess. Sounds like it. All right. Into Deep Houston. Here's another must see close to the last one. Okay, so it's another ghost town. Is this gonna be Phillipsburg? Where's my go there? And oops. Oh, I'm still on Google Earth. There we go. What's this one? This is Garnet, Montana. This is the next one on the list. Okay, so Garnet, Montana. Was Wikipedia tell us about Garnet? Abandoned mining town, 1860s. First Chance Creek in western Montana. The town is the edge of the high desert of the Front Range, but sheltered in a forest. And for the Garnet, the first item to be mined here, although gold quickly follows. So it's gold mining town. Got up to 1,000 people. A fire in 1912 destroyed half the town, which was never rebuilt. Supplies needed in Garnet were generally obtained from nearby Bearmouth. Despite this, Garnet is one of the state's best preserved and least visited ghost towns. Okay. Good to know. I like myself a least visited ghost town. Garnet. So we gotta go page 4. Oh, too far. Mammoth, Melrose, Marysville, Maiden, Keystone, Granite, Kendall. Oh, nope. Garnet is not. That's a Gold Pan, Gilt Ridge. Garnet. There we go. I'll give you the story of Garnet, Montana. Garnet has been resurrected from seemingly permanent ghostliness at least twice. As of this writing, it holds a place among the top ghost towns of the West, but it could be revived again. Population, 2 people, and 2 eager, friendly dogs. The human residents of Garnet are Mr. and Mrs. Clifford Dahl, who with the first flake of snow moved down to Drummond, leaving the town completely to its memories. Snow comes down like white cornflakes, and in no time it's 10 feet deep. An imposing 3-story hotel lords it over the saloons, stores, and other businesses and houses. The warm red coloring of long-weathered wood seems especially pronounced here. Some of the structures lean one way, some the other. Some seem in imminent danger of collapse, and indeed several have collapsed. It is fairly easy to repopulate the town, and imagine the Surreys again rolling up and down the steep streets. Garnet's wealth was in gold, and they took millions of it throughout the years following the original discoveries in 1862. There would have been even more, but so many of the men were too drunk to work much of the time. The mine that turned out the richest, the Nancy Hanks, was owned by 2 partners, one of whom was much addicted to alcohol, and after one protracted spree, the other partner bought him out for $50. In several years following, the Nancy Hanks spewed out $10 million in gold. How'd you like that? To have a drinking problem? You just sold out $5 million share in gold for $50. The retired partner had moved down to Beartown, and one day when another load of rich ore from the mine rolled past the door, he hanged himself. Dang. F.A. Davy operated the Garnet General Store for 45 years. He was not popular with the children of the town. They hanged him in effigy from the flagpole of the hotel. You can still see some ragged remains of the Stingy Merton's proxy hanging here. Mr. Davy also ran the Garnet Stage Line and Garnet Freight Line. He died here years ago. About 1912, a large part of the town burned down and never rebuilt. The Nancy Hanks operated off and on, closing entirely in 1954. The flavor of the town itself is not reminiscent of anything like a late era. The buildings all date to the early days. It was in those times that the combined population of Coloma, above Garnet, down to Beartown was nearly 5,000 people. And it was during one of these hard winters, the snow came down so hard and for so long, supplies ran out. When things began to get really desperate, one brave individual put on his miner's light, went down the maze of shafts and tunnels, and made his way through one connection after another until he had gone the whole 11 miles to Beartown and arranged for supplies to be sent up. A deed that on high order would seem to make up a little for some of the wilderness that was Garnet. The sharp switchbacks and steep approaches to Garnet are called the Chinese grade. A story that the Chinese miner stashed a sizable fortune there, concealed in a 5-pound baking powder can. It has never been found. Okay, so in a 5-pound baking powder can somewhere could be a large fortune left behind by a Chinese miner. There you go. The story of Garnet. All right. Oh, police scanner blowing up in Memphis, says Georgia. Yeah. Okay. Well, shit. Right? I love me some ghost towns. I've not really visited too many Montana ghost towns, and I would love to. Monkey Butt, do you want to visit some Montana ghost towns? I do. I really like, one of my dreams is to essentially visit every ghost town in this book. And quit falling on me stuff. Just stay in your pile. Visit every ghost town in this book and rewrite it. Make an updated version, because some of the stuff is so old that the towns he describes in here, they don't exist. Forest fire ripped through, the BLM tore them down. Or some of the towns they describe as ghost towns are like large suburbs of Portland, Oregon and stuff now. Like the town of Aurora. The town of Aurora, Oregon, when he wrote this in the 1950s, was a ghost town. No one lived there. Now, there's like hipsters and crap, and they've got coffee shops, all sorts of things. So I would love to be able to update that book. And that would probably be my post-MOAS journey in the 4-wheel drive RV. It would be Monkey Butt and I visiting all the ghost towns and rewriting it, updating it to the history so people can see what still exists. And there's a bunch of towns that weren't ghost towns when he wrote this that are ghost towns now. There's a whole bunch of Iron Belt ones. I mean, Gary, Indiana is a ghost town at this point. So we could update that sucker quite a bit. Kyle Garibaldi. I'm not naysaying, but I'm not confident in the judge. And then Quantum Shore says, I'm hoping worst case judge says, well, I can't decide who is right. Let's go to discovery and hash it out. Yeah, that would be the prudent move for the judge to go, well, you know what? How about you do give me that accounting, and then I'll decide. Because, I mean, Roza did show this data from their own website about short positions. Seems like if it's coming from their own website, then it's should be considered pretty good data. Or FINRA saying, like, you can't trust us, Your Honor. We produce garbage. Can't trust us. The SEC has to tell us what's garbage, or otherwise we're just going to keep producing garbage. Seems to be their argument. Okay. Squamps made it sorry was eating pizza. It's all right. Sometimes pizza has to get eaten. Monkey Butt, I think that's it for our show today. My voice is toast, man. I can feel it. Come here and say goodbye. Come here. Come on. Come on. Come on, say goodbye to everybody. Get up here. No, come on. All the way. Oh, there we go. Look at the camera. Look at the camera right there. You say goodbye. Oh, bye-bye. Yeah. Hey, guess what? Yesterday was the first day with the sunset after 5 p.m. So doing the show, it's light outside. So no after dark intro or outro. Right? Oh, nice burp. Okay. Toodles.